this morning, you can tell Pastor's not here. My internal clock did not tell me he was 7 o'clock. I'm away.
Hey, Ray.
Oh. Prayer request today. That usually remember Pastor, is he traveling? We got some other folks on the road. All right, some just got back, and some others on the road still.
What about Glenna?
Life's as good as mine,
Glenna Boyd. She had heart around, she had fluid around her heart. Fine. What about Glenna?
We never got to see her, and I thought we were gonna be able to go today, and Ruth said, no, her granddaughter is here from Alaska.
Is she, I mean, how is she doing it? They got rid of the heart, the issue around the fluid around the heart?
I don't know any of it, I just know that she's home from the hospital, and.
Well, we need to pray for her.
No, she's home, and if she had issues with her heart, she's probably still trying to overcome.
She has the same old. She
Right.
has an issue with her oxygen.
Well, she had fluid around the heart. She had fluid around the heart.
That was the latest one, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't here last week.
I don't know the answer.
Okay.
I have to ask
But
her
yeah.
to pray.
Okay. Yes.
You can pray for the people in my class. Tommy, he's been praying that his brother would move back, and he can move back. So that's why he's on my thing. And then Bethany and Alex don't live there. So
Who's that?
Bethany and Alex, they don't live there, so that's my thing.
Okay. How many brother comes back? And he was praying. So that's great. All right. Anybody else? I'm a little slower than Pastor. Yes.
Yeah, continue to pray for Jennifer's shoulder. She's got a condition called frozen shoulder, which is very painful. And PT medicine is not helping. And she's getting very frustrated. Her shoulder, her right shoulder, yeah, it just doesn't work right without pain. So she needs continued prayer.
Well, let's go. Father, we pray that you would bless folks on the earth, Claire this year, think of Glenna Boyd, and you be with her. Thank you that she has relatives home with her, and please you give us rest and recovery, continue at home here. Thank you for Don's brother coming home, and think of Beth and Alice and sick today. Pray that you just touch them, help them through this time. I'll be back next week. Think of the Jennifer children, pray that you help that. Pray for my son's ankles. He starts treatment's coming up here soon. That you can help him to overcome his cancer that he has and be able to get back in working order in Christ's name. All right.
Speaking of Zane,
New,
is he able to work? Zane, is he able to work?
Yeah, he for the most part feels fine. They say it's one of the more treatable types, so the last he just got back from the doctor Friday and everything was looking fine and good. They're gonna do some kind of treatment, but I haven't researched it.
Right.
I don't know what that means exactly.
Does the mother know?
No.
It's less radiation, faster recovery.
Say again?
Less radiation, faster recovery is a new treatment they have for it. So it's not radiation treatment, it's medical treatment.
Oh. Well, that won't leave a burn mark on him or whatever. That's good.
Say you don't get as many symptoms.
Yeah.
Other stuff.
Good. Good. Thank you.
So if everything's looking better, I didn't get that update. I'm sorry. And if my wife got it to you, that's 6, Shelter in the Time of Storm.
Dear Father, again, we just want to thank you for this day and pray that you continue to watch over this church and guide us as we go forward. Each one of the Sunday school classes today is bless them, people will be attended. We pray for this offering, that you'll bless it for the gospel. That's in Jesus' name.
All right, this time we're gonna have Mark Goldman coming up, and he's been looking forward to get an update from his ministry and things going on as he's here in Sunday school today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Just grateful to be here today. Grateful to be able to share about what's going on in our ministry in Sunday school here. It's just good to be able to share what God is doing through the ministry that He's called us to. And sometimes it doesn't go as we expect it to, and yet God still works that out for His plan. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, so I think you all know who we are, and most of you probably were there for our presentation night on Sunday night. But we are Mark and Kim Dahlman, and yes, Mark is Ray's son, and and Mark grew up here at Capital City. We were actually married here at Capital City. I was actually saved while we were here at Capital City.
Wow.
And so, that makes it an even richer blessing to be able to partner with you guys in the gospel of taking Jesus' name around the world. And so that makes it extra special for us. And so, really, our story is the story of the church and how we were saved in the local church, how the Lord has matured us through our local church. We go to South over on the west side of Lansing, and really, He has matured us, and He has given us opportunities at South to be able to use our gifts so that we can be even more equipped for every good work that He's called us to. And so we absolutely, one of the things that we really love about our church is that every year they have a missions conference, which is like a week-long missions conference, and it gave us opportunities to really get to meet missionaries, but not just to kind of on a surface level, but really have a lot of different touch points throughout the week to really get to know the missionaries. And so we started praying for more missionaries, and as we started to really deepen our friendship with missionaries, we realized that missionaries are just ordinary people. They're not like super Christians with capes on. They are just sinners who have been saved by a great God, and they're trying to follow the next steps of obedience. And so for us, the next steps of obedience was to pray for missionaries, and we began to financially support missionaries, and then through our church, we began going on these short-term ministry trips all around the world. And it just seemed like the Lord was pouring more of his love for the nations in our hearts. And kind of, we felt like this pull towards missions. And so we began to explore with different mission organizations. We thought we were going to Scotland to plant churches. But when we went there, and I mean, listen, we fell in love with the Scottish people because they are very sarcastic, and like sarcasm is my love language. And so we both really were like, yes, Scotland. But then we realized that there were zero resources for our youngest daughter, Reese, who was nonverbal autistic. And so we were like, wait, Lord, like, we know you're pulling us in the direction of missions, but we also know that you've called us to love and nurture Reese the very best that we can. And so we just kept praying with our local church. And then COVID happened, and then we kind of didn't have to worry about it, right? And so like we kind of just put that all on the back burner. But the Lord didn't forget about it, and he just kept hammering through different messages, different, in our own personal Bible studies, like that he was calling us to something different, something more. And so we just kept praying, and then the Lord brought this opportunity with Live Global. Part of Live Global, they started the sports ministry, sports outreach, and they said, we've heard about your love for missions, and we know about Reese, and we think that we figured out like the perfect combination for you, that you can stay in the United States for several years while Reese finishes her training, while still being full-time in missions. And so we really felt like that was God providing. Another way that God really provided, since we were commissioned in July of 2023, and even much more so when Mark left his full-time job in April of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm usually not really good at numbers, so in April 2024, the Lord has been doing something with Reese. Like, where they thought, and we thought that she was going to be in her special autism therapy well until after 18, last June, Reese graduated from this. And the Lord has brought in our life this woman who was asking the Lord, she homeschooled her kids, they're a senior and now one in college, and she was asking the Lord for a ministry, and she heard about Spelling to Communicate, and she was like, this is going to be the ministry. And so she's offering this to us for free because she's still training, but she said even once she's like accredited, she's still going to offer it for free because it's a ministry. Yeah. And so she has been coming to our house, and we have found through Spelling to Communicate that Reese has a deeper understanding and cognitive abilities than what we could even imagine. So we're doing 8th grade education because Reese is 8th grade, and so we were learning about Paul and the Judaizers. And so how it works is that I read through like a section, and then I just ask her questions. And then she has a letter stencil board, and I hold the letter stencil board, and she has a pencil, and she pokes at the letters, and she spells. That's the way that she communicates. And so we were learning about the Judaizers, and I said, well, okay, so Reese, the Judaizers believed that it was Jesus plus circumcision that brought them salvation, but we know as Christians that salvation is by what? And she spelled out faith. Yeah. And so all these years of being in church, the Lord has just put a love in her for him. And so we're really excited. And as a parent, like, we always knew that, like, it's a big obstacle not being able to communicate. But Reese's biggest need is that she needs a savior to save her from her sins. And so to be able to see that she understands those things has been like the greatest gift to us through this time.
Amen. Yeah, so we joined Live Global, the mission agency we're part of, in July of 2023. Live Global seeks to, maybe, it says it's on. It doesn't seem, did it jump one? Is that the next one? Yeah, so seeks to partner with nationals all around the world, right? So you've probably used one of these logos, I'm guessing, at some point in your life. What these do is these companies connect one party with another, right? Uber connects somebody who needs a ride with someone who has a car and wants to give people rides, right? Airbnb connects someone who has a house with someone who needs a place to stay. And that's what Live Global sees ourselves as. What we do is we connect churches in North America with churches and pastors and church planners all around the world. And so this isn't just us going to one place and working. That's fantastic. We have a lot of people who do that, who are close friends of ours, many who we support, right? I'm thinking of one couple in particular. They're going to Papua New Guinea. Actually, we're there, came home to have a baby, and are actually heading back there in November to be there again. And so, yes, they're going in, they're going to work in a tribe in Papua New Guinea. They're going to write down their language, and then they're going to translate the Bible into their language for those people group. But what we seek to do is find partners all around the world in every country we can, and come alongside them and help them grow their ministries. These are people who are already planting churches, doing the work already, and just need some support, need some help to do the work that God has called them to do. We have an abundance of resources here in America, far more than most countries do. And so we can come alongside these partners and just augment the ministry God has called them to through outreach. And so that's what we seek to do as Live Global.
So Live Global reached out to it's over 150 church planters, pastors all over the world. And they asked them, what can we do to best enhance your ministry, to help equip you? And overwhelmingly, the response was, we need sports outreaches. That's going to reach the kids and the young adults in our community and in a way that nothing else works. But they don't have like the sporting equipment there. They don't have like even enough people in their church to put on a good sports outreach. And so that's where Live Global started. It was just asking the question of, how can we help you? You're working in these hard areas where it's like 100% Muslim or 100% Buddhist or 100% Hindu. How can we come along and help you? And they said sports outreaches, and VBS outreaches. And so we took our partners at their word, and we started with Global Sports.
Yeah. Next slide. Can you forward it for me? Thank you. So what does that look like? Practically on the ground, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis, right? Well, recently, in August, I went to Romania with Kent City Baptist Church with 8 people from that church, right? We went there first off, we found them and they said, we want to go on a trip. So, okay, we have this trip in Romania. They're like, we're in. And so the idea was we met with them beforehand a couple different times and went through training, went through cultural training, helped them to understand the culture they'd be speaking to, how to share their testimony, how to share their gospel in a way that Romanians can understand it. because depending on your culture, you might receive it differently. Not that we're changing the actual gospel, but once again, there's a way to talk about it that they understand better than others, right? And so you have to be able to understand what you're going into and what you're going to be doing if you're going to be going to a culture like that. You don't want to share something that they just don't understand, right? And so we did a lot of training with them over 3 or 4 different sessions. Once again, with their testimony, making sure that they could tell their testimony of what God had done in their life clearly and succinctly so that people could understand it and people could receive it, right? On the other side of that equation, next slide please, is Alpha and Omega Church in Bucharest. Alpha and Omega Church is a church that prides itself on going to those who are outcast from the church. Pastor Christie, who started this church, started it intentionally because he was going to a church in Bucharest where he's grown up and lived his whole life. And he invited a friend to come, and his friend said, I can't come to church there because I don't have the proper clothes to go to church. And Pastor Christie said, it doesn't matter. Just come. You're with me. You're my friend. You come. I'll get you in. We'll go to church. And he came, and he was turned away at the door because he didn't have the proper clothes to go into church there. Pastor Christie was like, well, that's not going to do. I can't have that. And so he started his own churches, what Alpha and Omega Church is. On top of that, in Romania, because of the years under Soviet rule, which once again isn't that far back, we're talking 30, 35 years ago, right? There is a horrible orphan population that came about during Soviet rule, and then afterwards they still feel the effects of. There's still many, many people who are either orphans or are orphans because of the systems that were set in place. See, they wouldn't abort babies because abortion was illegal. What they would do is you have the baby and then you give it to the state. The state will take care of it, don't worry. And many of these kids were chained to beds, they were handcuffed to beds, they were not fed, they were, malnourished, all this stuff because the state didn't have the money to take care of them, but also kind of wanted their workforce to build up over time, right? Because that's what, communist governments do. And so they intentionally work with a lot of orphans as well. So this camp that we did for them, for Alpha and Omega, actually reached out to a lot of orphans and a lot of people who are marginalized in the Bucharest community and who normally wouldn't go to a church. And because of Pastor Christie's love for those people, he reaches out to them. They have a church of about 80 people. We probably had 50 at the camp, some from their church, some not. Some Christians, some not. If they are Christians, they're first-generation Christians because they didn't grow up as a Christian, right? Because once again, it wasn't that long ago that the communists were ruling Romania. So we were able to connect these two churches and do a camp, right? And what does that look like? That looks like, next slide please. That looks like a lot of games, right? We're a sports impact team. We're going to go out and we're going to do games. We're going to have fun. We're going to bring stuff to do the games. Whether it's a net, whether it's balls, whether it's cones, whatever we need to do the games, right? They love playing ultimate frisbee. We brought a bunch of frisbees to be able to do that. We're going to bring whatever we have to make that activity time possible, right? Sometimes it's a specific sport that we're doing. Sometimes it's just active games like this, right? We're also going to do stuff like crafts. Next slide, please. Like these bags that they drew their own designs on and stuff, right? We're going to give them time to be able to build community together, to get to know each other, to spend time together, right? But most of all, our whole reason for being there, right? Yes, we want to have fun. We want to do a good sports camp. We want them to have fun with the crafts and all that. Next slide. Our real reason for being there is that they would know Jesus, right? And so right now, every day I pray for a friend I met there named Alex. Alex heard my testimony and how I came to know Jesus, And it kind of resonated with him because he's not a Christian. He admitted it to me. He said, I'm not a Christian. He said, my wife is. She makes me go to church with her. And I found out later that Alex doesn't stay in for any of the messages that Pastor Christie preaches. He'll come in for the singing, he'll kind of hang around there, and then he kind of has an emergency or something, he has to walk out every time he starts to preach. And yet, because of the relationship I was able to build with Alex during the week, when I spoke on the last night, Alex stayed in there for the whole message and heard my testimony and heard about how Jesus loves him, right? Because of the relationships we're able to build, people will listen to what we have to say. And so we pray for Alex, that Alex would come to know Jesus, that he'd surrender his life to him, and that and his wife came up and thanked me after the service and said, I can't believe he stayed in here. He never does that, and gave me a hug and thanked me for coming and sharing what I did. I didn't know Alex before I went. I didn't know how God was going to use what I said, but God did. And that's what this provides, is a way to be able to share the gospel with those who may not be hearing it or may not, have that opportunity. Hopefully to reach out to those who are on the edges, who we can bring into the church. Next slide, please.
All right, so I have my glasses, so I'm going to have to
Can you read it?
a little closer. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about a little bit about what are the benefits then for the North American churches and our partners churches. And so for Kent City, and this is right from their mouths because we went to their report night that they did for their church, and over again they kept saying, this deepened our relationships with each other. Like, our church is going to be stronger because we went on this trip. And so there's something about serving together that just kind of unites us in a special way. They got to see how God was working in another culture. That's what started us even thinking about missions, is that, I saw God working in India, and I was like, oh my word, this is amazing. And God is moving forward and doing a lot of work in other countries, and it's a blessing and an honor to be able to go to these other countries and be able to see how He's working. Also, they grew in their ability to share their testimony and share the gospel. We can't emphasize this enough. Like, being able to share your testimony with people, we are called to be witnesses. But many times, and listen, I'm talking about myself, many times for several years, I would kind of fumble through my testimony. But it's been through practice and opportunities to be able to share the gospel and share my testimony that now I feel like, I could share it anywhere and be confident in what I'm sharing. And that's a gift. And so that trip, it was a gift to them to be able to grow in that experience and knowledge. And then also, the really cool thing is that God, from this team, from Kent City Baptist, God's calling out 3 future missionaries.
Amen.
2 of the young people there, and one is an older guy, older, like kind of like our age, and like the 2 are like, yeah, this is what we want to do with our lives. We want to go into missions full time. And the other man is like, I want to be more involved. I need to keep praying, but I want to go on more trips. But he's asking that question of, how can I be more involved in the Great Commission, which is what we want every church in North America to be thinking. Well, every church all around the world, but every church in North America to be thinking about. And so, next slide, please. And then the benefits for Alpha and Omega Church. So it was a time, first of all, the pastor didn't have to do anything. So we're talking about orphan culture, right? So think about this. Christy, he has a young church. Most of them don't have family. Most of them, all of them, are first-generation believers. they don't know how to raise their kids, they don't know, like, just basic life skills. And so that puts a lot on Pastor Christy and Amy, that they have a lot of work to do. And so this was just an opportunity for him to be able to come and just hang out with his congregation, which is amazing. And it's a time of refreshment for him. And then also, it provided an outreach opportunity for those believers in that church to bring along unsaved friends. And so, which there was quite a bit, quite a number of them that were unsaved there at that camp. And so to be able to hear the gospel and be able to engage with Christians in a very non-threatening way. And then also, so we picked up Amy. Amy was just in the United States because her grandfather passed away, and we picked her up from the airport in Detroit. And she told us that many of the young people in their church, so like 20s, are now thinking, if this church can send over, people and we receive the benefits of these mission trips, they're now asking, how can I be involved? And so it's not just cultivating the culture of missions in North American churches, it's also inspiring other churches around the world to be like, how can we be involved in missions? Which I think is just amazing, like, that they're not just on the receiving end, they're also thinking, how can we now, use what we've been taught and now go out to the world.
Oh. Next, is there one more slide? I think there is. So, how can you be involved with us? Well, first of all, our website is up there. This little QR code actually goes to the website, crazy enough. I don't know how any of that works. I did not do it. I have a younger friend who does all that for me because I don't know how to do that. Matter of fact, he's the same one that built our website, and I went to him and said, I need you to help me build a website to be able to do missions. And he said, so you want me to build you a website? And I said, that's what I said, didn't I? Of course, I can't do this. I have no ability. So he's very gracious. He did in 3 hours what I couldn't do in probably 3 years, which is awesome. So appreciate that. But go to our website, sign up for our newsletter. If you aren't, put in your first name, last name, email address. You'll be automatically tossed into our newsletter list. So when we send out newsletters with prayer requests and praises and where we're going and what we're doing, you can get that. Also on there is a button to support through giving. We are at 73% of the support we need to be able to do what we're doing, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We've come a long way, and it's been amazing, and it's been awesome to see God work in it. Honestly, by now, we should have run out of money in our account, and yet God has not allowed that to happen. And it's not like one person gave a huge chunk of money, and we're like, oh, it all went back to that one person. No, it has been numerous people over time. I love to joke, there's a lady that goes to our church who, I asked God for monthly support, and she gave us hamburger. Right? Which it was 25 pounds of hamburger, but it was food, right? And we needed food. And I didn't ask for food. I was like, that's great, God, but I had asked for people, but it was support. And it was what we needed, not what I wanted, which is what God always seems to provide is what we need, right? So this next year, as we're ramping up trips for this next year, actually, Kim and our daughter Peyton are going to Mexico in November. But then next year we'll be everywhere. Let's see, India, Thailand, Cuba, Bosnia, Egypt, Romania, back to Bosnia, and then probably the Philippines at the end of the year. And so we have a very busy travel schedule where we'll be taking teams from churches all around the world. Once again, serving those pastors and church planners in rough, marginalized places, helping them grow their ministries that God has called them to. So I know nobody cares if you get done early, and that is why I always try to. Plus, this way, I can bank a little bit of time for the message later so we can run longer, right? Is that how that works? All right, excellent, excellent, thank you. But does anyone have any questions we can answer?
I do. When you do your vacation Bible school or whatever you do, does it go a few days or does it go a couple of days or how long does it go?
So it really depends on where we're going. That's kind of what we did in Romania, and it was 5 days of the camp, and then it was it's always 2 days of travel going in and 1 day back. On top of that, that church had another missionary that was working near Bucharest and that they wanted to visit, and the pastor said, if you can just get us there, you can go ahead and take off after that, and we'll visit that missionary and then come back. And so they went over and visited another missionary for 3-4 days themselves that they also supported. So once again, if you have, like, for instance, they said, we want to go help you out in Romania, but we also want to see our missionary that we support that's over there, because they don't support us financially to do missions. Kent City does not. And so I said, absolutely, let's set that up and do it. And so we worked with the other missionary as well to be able to, facilitate that handoff and be able to make that happen so they could do both things, right? Because we're about seeing the gospel go forward. We're not about Live Global. I love Live Global. They've given us an avenue to do this, but we're about seeing the gospel go forward wherever it's at. So we don't care who or what.
I have another question, Mark.
Of course.
When you do a sports thing,
Yeah.
like the Frisbee or whatever,
Yeah.
do you leave Frisbees with them or do you take them all back?
Yeah, so we do. Everything we take, we leave there. Occasionally, we might bring something back if the partner doesn't have the ability to store it per se. But what we'd love to do is, so we raise all the money for all the stuff that we take with us, right? And so what we want to do is leave that there so it can continue to bless that partner, that church, right? So for instance, we took probably, a couple $100 worth of sports equipment with us, and we left it all with the church there because they have a place for it, and they can continue to be blessed by it. There were a lot of crafts that we had left over because our schedule that we had planned out didn't go as planned. Matter of fact, I think by the second day, maybe even the first day, it was shot, right? The first day we arrived in Bucharest, so we arrive in Bucharest, and the Pastor Christy comes up to me and says, hey, good to see you. I said, good to see you. We're tired. Let's go find that hotel. And he said, great. So remember the money you sent me to buy the non-perishable stuff for the camp right away? And I said, yeah. You're going to buy that so it didn't take up more time shopping later. And he said, yeah. He said, I didn't get time to do that. We'll do that tomorrow. Which means that was an extra 2 hours. Then he accidentally put the wrong gas in the car. Thankfully, didn't drive anywhere. So we were able to siphon it all out. But, we were about 8 hours late getting to the camp that day, which once again meant that whole schedule for the first day was shot. And we were starting fresh on day 2. Not the schedule I had planned, but the schedule God had planned nonetheless. And so he worked it out. But yeah. So we do try to leave all that with them so that they can do what they're doing. So. Oh, okay. No more from Nancy. Anybody else? All right. If you have questions or you want to talk about what we're doing or anything else you didn't want to ask them, please feel free to come talk to us in here, down by the table, wherever. We'd love to talk to you. This is what God has called us to do, so we love talking about it. No question is silly, except Nancy's third one. No, I'm just kidding. But who's counting? I mean, seriously.
So after you get all your support, is it your plan? Now, I said your plan, we don't know about God's plan.
Sure.
But is it your plan to stay in the States and kind of do what you're doing right now?
So the plan right now is to continue to do what we're doing now. Part of our job is not only to do these trips, but also to go to North American churches like this on Sundays. So most Sundays we aren't at our home church. We're out at other churches. Usually a church we've never been to before, so this is kind of surreal because I spent the first 26 years of my life here. Yeah, we're out at churches just sharing what we're doing with Live Global, trying to get them involved, either supporting us or sending teams with us. You don't have to support us to send teams with us. We obviously need the financial support and want that, but we also need teams to come with us as well. And so we just love people who see what we're doing and want to be involved with it. So.
But we're not opposed to.
But we're not opposed to moving overseas if that's where God moves us. Yeah. Yeah. So we have some people in Bosnia and Romania who really want us to possibly join their team. Originally, we didn't think it'd be possible because we weren't sure how Reese would adjust. And in the last couple of years, like Kim said, she's made leaps and bounds to where we think she could probably live in some sort of European country. Especially with the slower pace that a lot of those countries have, just outside the city. So. All right, excellent. Yeah, look at that. 10:45, seriously. I mean, who doesn't like getting done early, right? That's what Pastor Perkins told me. He said, listen, no one gets upset if you're done early, ever. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Oh, there you go.